From the creators who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing, this is World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hello and welcome to the Wow Report on Radio Andy, counting down the top 10 things that make us go wow. I'm Fenner Bailey, co-founder of World of Wonder, joined as ever by Tom Campbell, our Chief Creative Officer.
Howdy.
And of course, James St. James, literary genius. And a very, very special guest this week, Rachel Mason, director and producer of Circus of Books, right? The Netflix documentary about, well, actually, I'm not going to say anything. Let's start with the countdown. Number 10.
Number 10.
I would like to talk about the Netflix documentary, Circus of Books. Because we have its director, its inspiration, its love child here with us.
The Emmy-Nominated Circus of Books. I think we need to throw that out right away. That's bearing the lead.
Oh my God! For best writing with my it's in the writing category. So.
Oh, that's fun. That's great. Who are you up against?
Oh my gosh, we're up against Don't Fuck with Cats, which I loved. I really
right, yeah.
And then the Beastie Boys, who are nominated in so many categories. You know, come on, people, just you spare them this one. And then I think there's The Cave. Oh my God, it's the most heartbreaking.
The Cave?
Oh, have you seen? Oh my God, half the crew actually died. I went to this thing. It was like, so.
Those are nominated. Let's talk about the winner.
Yes, the definite winner.
Because this is voting period right now. So anyone driving around in their BMWs listening to their fabulous series video.
Yeah. Vote for Circus of Books, and I'll tell you why. I'll be a politician. So I can be a politician for only one thing, which is gay porn. And it's really important. And like nobody else advocates for gay porn. I swear, it's so crazy. Like here we are in this world, and what was so needed. I mean, I why am I the person saying this to you guys? Like a generation of people literally told me on camera crying that porn saved their lives, and so I
preaching to the choir right here.
People don't know that, and I'm married to a gay porn star right up there. Or I should say engaged. That's Buck Angel. So how lucky am I? But the reality is just that this is a first for any kind of film about porn, really, but specifically gay porn, and also the kind of time capsule of the Circus of Books and what it meant for Los Angeles. And I was just this little kid, sort of aware and, in my early fag hagdom of, a childhood experience, loving all these beautiful men, and then they all disappeared on me. And so I had to catch up as an adult, being like, wow, this world that is no longer here, that's really only able to be immortalized because we have, still some elders who I can speak to. So that's how the film came about. And, I can't tell you the kinds of messages I get from people all over the world who, can't even really be out in places like Iran and Indonesia. And it's like so shocking because our world here in LA, it's a bubble. And
But I have to say, even in that bubble, 1984, I moved to LA as a 21-year-old. I was kind of half in the closet, half out of the closet. I had no life skills on how to conduct myself sexually. AIDS was looming, was right there, so you didn't know what to do. Also, you're in this sort of promiscuous period of your life, but you don't know what to do about it. And the thing, and I spent a lot of time at Circus of Books, in and around Circus of Books. And
Vaseline Alley out back. Who could? That was my introduction to Circus of Books.
Yes, yes. And the
Thank you for paying for my college education, then.
Absolutely.
Rachel, you have to make a sequel, Vaseline Alley. Vaseline Alley 3D.
Great minds think alike, because seriously, also, I have constant conversations with Shishi LaRue. It's so cosmic. There are actual gay angels that circle around me and just like sprinkle ideas from the heavens, because it's so weird. Like Shishi LaRue showed up, and then the name now is on the store because, the Shishi LaRue store took it over. And so I have these conversations with Shishi, and I'm like, oh my God, decades of gay porn that, he's in the center of, and like, Wow.
T.T. LaRue story is one that's been dying to be told forever. Yeah.
Dying. And so, I mean, there was a doc about Shishi, but like all of the players, all of the interesting side stories, the Vaseline Alley. I mean, totally. So great minds think alike.
What was the first thing? How did the ball get rolling?
Well, I kind of always knew. It was one of those things that I sort of felt like I had to do at some point in my life, but I didn't necessarily see myself doing it at the time that I was doing it. I was living in New York. I was being, a part of the avant-garde, living the avant-garde dream with my friends and, underground art performances, music, performance art. And that was the world I wanted to inhabit and still partially do. But I then, it was always, my mom would always say, oh, we're going to close the store. We're going to close the store. And it, it just didn't feel imminent. And in 2014, she really said, no, it's happening. And then I thought, oh my God, I cannot imagine a world without Circus of Books. When I would go to LA, I mean, I would visit the store like it was a friend and hang out in the back with the, managers. And so it just immediately, I went back to LA. And a couple different producers said, okay, we'll help you if you get this thing started. So that's how it started. And it really was like catching up. And my mom was so quick to close everything. Like, all right, we got to go, getting rid of this, doing that. And, she has no nostalgia for it.
I was going to say, mothers are often, it's not nostalgia as much as you want them to be. It's the kids who are always the ones.
Yeah, it's so crazy. I'm like, how can you not? I mean, it's so funny. She's like on the very last day, like, I hope someone buys this final vial of poppers. And I'm like, no, special.
Okay, well, Circus's Books is streaming on Netflix, of course. The illustrious Ryan Murphy came on as an executive producer. I know we're going to talk more about the documentary in the hour, but now we're going to move on to number 9 of things that made us go wow this week. James.
Number 9.
Number 9, I've been watching Lovecraft Country. It's a tongue twister. It's hard for me to say. It's on HBO. Does anyone know about this?
Is it about H.P. Lovecraft?
H.P. Lovecraft features prominently in it, and some of his monsters are prominently in it. But this is by J.J. Abrams, of course, from Lost, and Jordan Peele from Get Out. Part of this new wave of black horror, sort of black science fiction that is out there right now. And it's really fun. It's really good. It stars Jonathan Myers is Atticus, and it's 1950s, Jim Crow era America. And his father has gone missing, and he has to travel from the South to Massachusetts to try where he has a lead where he thinks his father is. And he's in a car with his uncle and this girl, Journey Smollett, Jesse's sister, I think. And she's absolutely fantastic. And as they're driving, they pass through what's called sundown towns, which I'd never really heard of, but it was, if you're black, this is a real thing, where if you were black in a sundown town during the daytime, it was fine, no worries. But the minute the sun went down, you had better be home or hiding or not on the streets because you would be lynched or shot or whatever. And so they find themselves in a sundown town, and the police officer pulls them over and says, you have, the sun sets in 9 minutes and you have to be across that county border, and the county border is like 25 miles away. You have to, if you don't make it, I'm going to get you. And so he says, and you can't speed, because I'm following you. And so they have to make it across the border going 25 miles an hour, and it's 8 minutes, 7 minutes, 3 minutes, 30 seconds before the sun goes down. And they finally make it over, but they make it into another sundown county. And so there are police sitting there waiting for them, and they drag them into the forest, and they're going to shoot them or lynch them or something. And just as they're about to do it, all of a sudden they're attacked by these monsters. They come out of the blue, and they're like H.P. Lovecraft monsters. There's a famous one with like 100 eyeballs. They're giant things. So, and then that's the first episode. That's the spoilers. But the point of this series is that there's real monsters, and then there's the monster that is, segregation and the bad guys out there, and which is scarier and which is worse. And this series gets very quickly, it goes very science fiction, and there's like clan-like people, and they end up in this town that's like stuck in the 16th century, and there's a magical mansion, and it is really, really crazy, but it's absolutely fantastic. And Courtney B. Vance, Journey Smollett, and Jonathan Majors are the stars, and they're absolutely brilliant. So fun to watch. I think everybody needs to watch this, and I can't say enough about it.
Have you watched it, Rachel?
No, but you know what I was going to say? Do you know that Burbank, California, Burbank in the Valley was a sundown town?
Was it?
Yeah, and I only know because my dad grew up there, and his high school yearbook had only white people in it. And I was looking through, I'm like, wow, isn't this Burbank? And he was like, oh, yeah, well, Black people had to leave at sundown. And I'm like, whoa. And then, this is like Burbank, the Valley. So you think it's just the deep South, but it was everywhere.
It was everywhere.
I grew up in New Hampshire, and there weren't many Black people. And I always thought, well, I guess they just didn't come there. But it's the same kind of discrimination and sundown laws and things that kept people away from those states and those communities. It's shocking and embarrassing that I'm finding out about as an adult and didn't know it sooner.
And being British, I'm just not so it was the law that if you were Black, you had to leave at sundown. It was a sort of temporary.
When I was growing up in Fort Lauderdale, there was something similar. I don't know that it was quite as bad when I was growing up, but I know that if you had a housekeeper or something like that, that you had to have that they had to be home before sundown, and so the buses were always, like 5:30 is when everyone was on, because if you were on the street, I don't know what would happen, but I know that the
cops would pick you up and drive you out. That's what I was told.
Yeah.
Cops would literally find them and pick them up and drive them out of the town.
Or worse.
Ooh.
But I love Jordan Peele, and I've been really excited to see it because did you see Get Out? It was so great. And if it captures any of that, I think he's the director of that exact, it's true American horror. And, I think that the realist American horror is what's still playing out to this day.
And we know what's going on right now, what's happening in
Kenosha, Wisconsin. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Wisconsin. Yeah. So it's very timely, but it's also it's monsters, and it's bigotry, and it's everything, and it's fantastic.
No, he's literally speaking about this moment. I just think that the best science fiction does that. It's actually real.
Oh, wow. Perfect segue. So Lovecraft Country is streaming it's on HBO, right?
Number 8.
Tom and James, for the last few weeks I've been immersing myself in Russian science fiction streaming movies.
You are it's so eclectic. I love it.
Very supportive.
I think it. And last night I watched Attraction 2. Now, all the reviews said you don't need to watch Attraction 1 to have any idea what's going on. I swear to God, for about the first hour, I had no idea what was going on. But to make a very long Russian story short, basically, in Attraction 1, a spacecraft UFO crashed into Moscow. And so it was a sort of alien invasion movie. And in Attraction 2, they're back. The sort of outer space visitor is a very Lovecraftian, it's a giant eye from outer space that hides behind a force field. Very Lovecraft. It's called Ra. And what is so brilliant, Rachel, about this is that exactly as you say, science fiction is really good when it's about now, because Ra has the ability to deep fake every single person's personal feeds, cell phone calls, Facebook. So even though General Lebedev is saying, don't shoot my daughter, don't shoot my daughter, his instructions to the army are coming out, shoot to kill, shoot her now. And so the whole thing gets inverted, and the across Russia, the message is, attention, do not trust digital media. And they all throw away their cell phones and go back to analog phones and plugging things in. It just becomes really, really good. And these aliens are able to control water, make missiles and weapons and spacecrafts out of water. So it's a fabulous, in the Abyss, you had that long thing that was like a watery thing. It's sort of like that. They're able to take water and turn it into weapons and crafts.
Well, that's what Aquaman's wife can do too.
Right. Yeah, power over water.
What's this one again? I'm trying. What's the name of this one you're talking about?
Attraction 2. Invasion. It's on Amazon Prime. If you get Amazon Prime, Amazon. It's got this great Russian soundtrack. You know, they always have these fabulous sweeping chords and doomy sort of sounds. And at the end, they give a credit. Special thanks to the Ministry of Emergency Situations, who
It's Soviet era, isn't it?
I guess they helped them make this film because I guess they know what they're talking about. So
now, wait a minute. My question to you is, do you have a giant list of Soviet science fiction that you're going to? How are you finding these?
the algorithm, once it starts, it says you may also like, you
I
know.
know once. Totally.
That's how I ended up on my Japanese teen soap opera kick.
Yeah. So I'm putting that with Sputnik, which was great, and The Coma, which is great. I really can't. I mean, I don't know if I'd recommend this one that much, but it does have the special effects are unbelievably stunning. You know,
I love any movie that takes me an hour to understand. Sign me up. I've got time to kill.
Wow.
all right.
So is that in Russian though? It's actually the language is Russian. Wow.
The language is Russian, which I do not speak. So it's dubbed. You have to read do not listen to it. Do not watch it dubbed. Watch it with the subtitles because the dubbing is so awful. Watch it with subtitles. It's kind of good. We'll take a break. Frida Got a Gun, which is our World of Wonder documentary directed by Chris McKim, directed and produced, with bounce legend Big Frida about U.S. gun violence epidemic, is streaming now at Outfest until tomorrow, Saturday. We'll post a link on the WoW Report so you can get tickets for that. Rachel, you've been at Outfest many times.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love Outfest. Outfest is the place that starts everything. Before Netflix and all these big platforms gave a fuck about the gays, really, it was so crazy. Like, now everybody's like, we've always been here for you. Look at our rainbow flag. But actually weren't. Outfest. Everyone's late to, have their category. And so, I mean, not enough can be said about Outfest and how awesome it is. And we had the opportunity, now it feels like a whole other world that I had the opportunity to sit in front of an entire audience of Circus of Books customers and, thank everybody. And just, it was a really amazing experience. And it's so weird to think.
Everything is digital right now. And we've lost something.
No, and Trixie last year, we saw her film. I mean, the amazing Trixie documentary and the great live show that she did. It was so great. And, you now look back at these things with this weird nostalgia of like, oh my God.
Those were the golden days, and we didn't realize it. We weren't thankful enough.
Don't know what you've got till it's gone. You're listening to the WoW Report on Radio Andy, and we'll be right back after the break. Blake, have you got a question?
I do have a question.
That's my win.
Let's play a little game where we guess which presidents. Well, I'm going to name their code name, their Secret Service code name.
Oh, okay.
Tell me what president it is.
Okay.
What? And you'll answer after the break. Is it which one is Renegade? Which one is Timberwolf? And which one is Searchlight? Renegade, Timberwolf, Searchlight.
Okay. 45 presidents, or just like in the last 5 years?
It's been since the 50s.
All right.
Okay.
We'll have the answer right after the break here on the WoW Report.
You're listening to World of Wonders WoW Report. Things that make us go wow.
And welcome back to the WoW Report. I'm Fedson here with Tom and James and our very special guest, Rachel Mason, director of Circus of Books, the Emmy-nominated documentary Circus of Books. And before the break, we had a question, Blake.
Yeah, I named some of the Secret Service's code names for presidents since the 50s, and I want you to tell me what president is. Which president was Renegade, was their code name?
I'm going to say, who are you going to say?
The first George Bush.
Okay.
No.
I'm going to say Kennedy.
Nope.
Reagan.
Nope.
Clinton?
Nope, it was Obama.
Oh, okay.
Who was Timberwolf?
Timberwolf, I'm going to say is George Bush II, or George W.
H.W. Bush. That's right.
Oh, H.W. Okay, yeah.
And then who was Searchlight?
That's why you went to. No, Spotlight, James. You went to Spotlight.
Ronald Reagan.
Oh yeah, maybe.
I'm going to say Reagan.
Nixon.
Nixon. But Rachel, I do have to say that we're doing gay LA history. Maybe we should do a spotlight too, because that was my home away from home for many years. The Hustler Bar on Cahuenga.
Maybe we can recreate it through animation, James, in your memories.
Yes, we'll do a cartoon version of picking up hustlers on Selma.
Which reminds me, whose special nickname is Aurora Borealis? Who checks into hotels as Aurora Borealis?
Oh.
Or used to, I should say. That's a clue.
Wait, is this like a celebrity?
Mm-hmm. Not a president.
I want to know which president that was.
Right.
Who?
It's Carrie Fisher. She always checks in as Aurora Borealis. So,
That's actually awesome. Love that.
all right, we're getting down the top 10 things that made us go, wow. We've reached number 7.
Number 7.
Full disclosure to our viewers, we pre-taped a little bit early last week. So we weren't able to talk about Biden's speech at the Democratic National Convention, which was, I thought, everything and amazing. And I woke up in such a good mood. And I choose to be not naive, but like wildly optimistic. I'm just going to be optimistic. I'm not going to keep fighting, but I wake up in a good mood. I post a beautiful picture of them together, whether it's Kamala and Joe or Joe and his wife. I get a picture today where they're in jeans, sitting on a bench with a dog and colored flowers. I was like, oh my God, the whole world's changed. Can you imagine? But there's this one clip that, Brayden Harrington, we might have mentioned him briefly. He's the boy from New Hampshire, the 12-year-old who stutters, who
literally walked away with the convention. To me, he is the heart and soul of what we are and what we want to be as Americans.
Yes, and he gave that speech, and he was without a sort of like on a high wire without a net, because he stutters but he was brave and he did it. And he said it because of Biden, and it seems a little set up. Did you guys happen to see the handheld video of the very first time Joe Biden met in New Hampshire?
Yes, I did see that. Oh.
So it's just handheld, probably the mom or something, and it's the dad who seems like the nicest guy going, Mr. Biden or Vice President Biden, this is my son, I want you to meet him. He wanted to come here because he's a stutterer. And Joe, without missing a beat, not doing it for the cameras, just like got down and was like, hey, kid, you're so smart. You're so bright. You can lick this thing. I know you can. Look at you. Look, just so much positivity. I know. And it sounds just like the way his mother treated Biden, because there was a great bio piece on him as well in the DNC. And Biden's like, can I get your number? And this, by the way, was Joe Biden rubbing the kid's head and talking to him, and all, those crazy pictures of Joe being all handsy.
Yes. He's always molesting people. He's always yes. But he's reaching out and he touches people, and that's what he's always done.
And old fashioned, he goes, Dad, is it all right if I get his number? Because he goes, I work with like 12 or 13 stutterers now. I'll tell you what I do to help me get through my speeches now. And there's a little follow-up video. It's simple things, and it's interesting because it's a metaphor, but he puts dashes in between his words, the phrases, to remind him to slow down. Yeah. Which is again the metaphor of that stuttering, of course, and the cure and the treatment, whatever. But just for all of us, and the contrast between the insanity that's happening, the chaos, and Joe Biden putting dashes between phrases to slow.
Well, Joe Biden would just meet someone and just pull him aside and say, call me, here's my number. Like the presidential candidate just has no qualms about reaching out to and being that personal and getting that personal touch. And you just hope to God that he doesn't let the world stop him from being that person.
We're so split as a country, but people sometimes see those personal stories as staged or not real.
Yeah.
And I saw all the supporting video and stories around it. It's such a genuine moment and such a look into his soul. And if it's that versus Trump, I have not hesitation.
People like shield their children from Trump, I think, right? Well, some.
Right.
Yeah.
People start sobbing when he comes around.
Like the child catcher. He's so awful. All right, we posted that DNC speech on the Wow Report, and now we'll move on to number 6.
Number 6.
Number 6, I'm going to talk about King's Row on Turner Classic Movie. Tom, this is for you right here. It's a classic movie from 1942, and it stars Ronald Reagan, Robert Cummings, and Ann Sheridan. And you were talking last week about how there's like the stars of the week and they do the marathons. And Ann Sheridan, I got caught up in an Ann Sheridan hole, which I'd never really appreciated her before.
I know.
She was like a film noir, like sort of a ball busty sort of like a hard woman. But this role is a little different. They say that this is Ronald Reagan's best movie, which isn't saying a lot because he was a terrible actor and he did terrible movies. But he really is good in this. And I want to sort of tell you a little bit about it because it goes into this really weird gay thing that I want to get to in a second. It's based on a book of the same name. And it's about small town America. It's sort of like the seedy underbelly of small town America, like a Peyton Place, right? And the book came out in 1940, and it had incest and insanity and homosexuality and murder. And it was like considered very scandalous at the time. And then when they bought the movie rights, the Hays Code was still going on. So they couldn't include any of that in the movie. And so you have all these like, you have to sort of read into what's really happening in the movie because in the book, there's this doctor and he's molesting his daughter for like 20 years and she goes insane and then she gets pregnant and he kills her. And in the movie, all of a sudden, the doctor just kills the daughter and you have really no idea why.
Right.
He's acting all sort of crazy and you know there's something weird going on in the house, but you have to know. Like the people at the time had all read the book, so they knew. But watching it now, it's a little hard to tell. Well, there was a gay character in the book, and you know that he's gay because every time he's described as having, I'm reading the book right now as well, and every time you see him, they talk about his soft feminine features and how his lips are so full and red and his eyes are big and wide, and every time the goody doctor, played by Robert Cummings, looks at him, he gets a funny feeling and he has to leave the room. And so they take that character completely out of the movie. For some reason, they lean into Ronald Reagan and Robert Cummings. You suspect that there's something more there than what you're getting. Because at one point, there's a doctor who gets off on amputating people without anesthesia. That's his thing. He takes bad people, and he does that to Ronald Reagan. He amputates his legs. And his wife, played by Ann Sheridan, calls Robert Cummings and says, he's depressed. He's not moving. We don't know what to do with him. He's not talking. Only you can help. Only you can help. Come save him. And so Robert Cummings comes to see Ronald Reagan, and they fall into each other's arms, and they're holding each other, and because they haven't seen each other in a while, and they're smiling and they're talking really fast and they're face to face, so the camera is really tight on both of them, and it goes on for like a beat too long. Wow. Men just sitting there touching cheek to cheek and just saying, "I'm so glad to see you. You're the only one who makes me feel better. I'm so and it's Ronald Reagan, of all people, who is leaning into the gay more than Robert Cummings. It's so weird because as homophobic as Reagan was in his later years, and that he never helped with the AIDS movement, and he would call gay people fairies, and for all of that, it's really obvious in this movie that they're playing that there's been some subtext in it.
Was Ann Sheridan the wife in the corner watching them have sex?
Yeah, we're going to get to that in a minute.
All right. We'll come back to that. That's King's Row on the Criterion Channel, rental by everywhere. Number 5.
Number 5.
Rachel, I need your help with this.
Okay.
I watched in this tradition, I'm in this groove, Tesla, about Nikola Tesla, the Serbian inventor of AC/DC current.
He was Edison's number one foe.
Yeah, I was going to say Edison and he had that great rivalry.
Right.
And what I never really understood was because Edison was DC, direct current, right? And Tesla was alternating current because it swung both ways, right?
Right.
And
Yes.
why was one more dangerous? Like they were electrocuting elephants, and then Edison electrocuted a person, and they didn't die, and it was a horror show.
And then, Topsy the elephant. Was the name of the elephant that he killed. But I think that Edison just had the better PR person, don't you think?
Yeah. No, that was the kind of amazing feat of it all, is that it wasn't one was better or worse than the other. They were literally just two sides of the same coin. And so it was just Edison versus Tesla, and Edison won, and I think you're totally right, James. That's exactly it. It was Edison had an industry behind him that flowed. But I haven't seen the movie.
Yeah, tell some more.
Well, it's just that it's Ethan Hawke plays Nikola Tesla.
Well, because Tesla was very handsome, wasn't he? We've seen pictures of him, and he's very hot.
And Ethan Hawke's very good. It's a really interesting movie because it's like a biopic, but they break the fourth wall. The actors break the fourth wall all the time, and they use a lot of green screen. And it's almost like there's chunks of it are like a documentary where Tesla's love interest just speaks to the camera and says, yes, he did this, and then he did this, but you don't know that he did this. And it's really, it's so unusual. It's like it's a feature film, but it also has this sort of docu element.
Does that work?
It kind of does, although
I think they mix it up.
I found myself not understanding enough about, and I've read a biography of Tesla years and years ago, but I sort of, some of the story points about, because he was amazing. And in a way, if Bill Gates is Edison, maybe Tesla was Steve Jobs or something like that. That actually,
Elon Musk.
Stuff, because he basically invented wireless radio. Marconi beat him to it, and he had this idea of free power that could be wirelessly distributed to everybody for free. Tesla really was, and he was dabbling in teleportation, and it seems like he was like uber talented and
a beautiful mind or something. If you saw that, I think back in the day, scientists were allowed to be more widely versed, and now they're more sort of narrow, and everyone has these little specialties. But I think back then they were just
they could be madmen. They were the crazy people who had the crazy dreams.
No, and you could have like that sort of it also like intersection with like weird witchcraft science, like you get in LA with like L. Ron Hubbard and Aldous Huxley and MIT and all the scientists there. It's like, that's my favorite era in like LA's history, is just that kind of weird intersection with actual physicists who invented like LSD while they were also creating, the space stations that we currently use.
Jet Propulsion Laboratory was a bunch of Satan worshipping freaks.
I was just going to say, and then they all go hang out with Anton LaVey and, yeah.
Totally.
I guess there was a time of emergent technology when magic was still sort of thick in the air. This was like 1898, 1888 when
amazing time. Yeah.
And they were always trying to do seance machines and things like that to reach the dead, and
it was totally intersected. Yeah, it would be so interesting if it did intersect again now, what that would even look like. Maybe we could pursue things on a higher scale if we actually wove things together better.
I think, Rachel, that should be your next film.
You're going to walk out of here with a dozen new ideas.
All of them, they all intersected with Fenton. I think actually our minds are very intersected.
Similarly warped.
It'll be Tucci LaRue at Spotlight doing a seance.
I know. It's really, truly. I was born to like tie together science fiction and gay porn.
Well, let's take a break and think about that. You can rent Tessa on Prime Video, iTunes, Google, all the usual places. And what else? Yes, $1 Million Listings. Los Angeles is finale this Tuesday, September 1st, 9 p.m. on Bravo. So, Blake, have you got a question?
I do. Tom spoke a little bit about Brayden Harrington, the 13-year-old stutterer, who spoke at the DNC, what percentage of people in the world stutter into their adulthood?
We'll be right back after the break with the answer. You're listening to the Wow Report on Radio Andy.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
And welcome back. I'm Fenton here with James St. James and Tom Campbell and Rachel from Circus of Books, director of Circus of Books, Rachel Mason. I'm just loving your red hair. It's very beguiling.
It's pink. I had it done for my pre-recorded Emmy winning speech. They make you do that now. So act as if you win. And I'm sitting there with Buck. He's like, I need real tears. I'm like, but there's nobody out there. And I don't know if I won. So anyway.
They make everyone give an acceptance speech, and then that's hysterical.
Yes, and you have to hit the 30-second mark, and you have to mention Netflix, Ryan Murphy, all the different things you need to hit, and then done, like that.
And then you have to squeeze out a few tears to make it look good.
Do they give you a trophy to hold while you record the fake speech?
I've held a beer can, like, because it's so fun. No, every time I started, I would laugh. And so I didn't know how it was going to ever work. But I'm curious to see how other nominees made their pre-recorded Emmy speech.
Well, good luck at the ceremony. We'll be watching. Blake, what was the question?
Well, Tom spoke last segment about Brayden Harrington, the stutterer, the young boy who stutters, who spoke at the DNC last week. I asked what percentage of people in the world stutter into adulthood.
Well, I'm going to have to say it's higher than you think it is, but lower than what you think it is. I'm going to say like 3%.
1%.
Yeah, I think I would agree with like something like 1% or maybe 2%.
That's exactly right. 1%.
Well, there you go. Very good.
You win absolutely nothing. Yay. Let's carry on.
Number 4.
A drastic change of tone. A very sad thing happened this week. We obviously produced RuPaul's Drag Race, and there have been almost 200 queens who have passed through the show and shared their beauty. And we lost one of them, Chi-Chi DeVayne, who was 34 years young, had autoimmune disease, and was in the hospital, and we all knew about it. There's a lot of people pulling for her, and a lot of people at World of Wonders there and others who were talking to her, and she was fighting and feeling, really optimistic and cheerful as ever. But she passed away this week, and it's still a shock. It's hard to absorb. You don't want anyone to pass away, but Chi-Chi
had a light. Chi-Chi was so funny and had such an infectious laugh. And her time on the show, you pulled for her. She was the girl from the smallest Louisiana town. She didn't have the money that some of the other girls had. She didn't have the costumes and outfits, but she had pluck, and she was a firecracker. And everybody who met her loved her. You see that on social media, that every queen out there has just said, why the good ones? Why is it always the good ones? And it's very sad. I know that her service takes place today at the Praise Temple in Louisiana from 6 to 8 p.m. In Shreveport. And memorials and contributions to the family can be sent by the Cash App at $Albertine D. We'll put that on the WOW report so that you can look for it.
And James said it, but Chi-Chi was just like, Ru loves everybody, but Ru loved Chi-Chi. We all love Chi-Chi because she'd play along with you. She was game. She was funny. She was genuine. Ru was always saying if she did anything wrong, which was it was like put some Louisiana into a girl. It was like incredible spiritual.
The Southern Pride fun is what she was.
And there's so many moments, but there was because she had said such inspirational things. World of Wonder will put on the WOW report. Kind of strung together her interview bites and a bunch of moments. And she was such a positive light. She literally was like this walking positivity kind of thing. But there was an amazing lip sync between her and Dorothy Thor when we finally got, it was season 8. And it was, and I'm telling you, I'm not going, the original.
Oh, yeah.
And the runway challenge had been being black and white. So they were all kind of grayed out with black. And she had this long gown that she had made with pearls that went in the back. And at one particular point in the song, not planned, I don't believe it was a stunt, it was God, her pearls that wrapped all the way around her broke. And so they fell to the ground and she hit the notes.
And it looked like rain. It looked like rain coming down upon her. It was so good. One of the other moments that stood out for me with her was, how Ru always shows the pictures in the last episode of the young versions and said, "What would you say to yourself?" And I can't remember exactly what she said, but it was one of those moments that brings you to tears. And she just said, "It doesn't matter where you're from; it's where you're going, and that's what's important in life." And or where you're from doesn't stop you from where you're going to go, or something to that effect. And it was just amazing.
Gratitude and the still and the social media just flooded. And it's a simple gesture, but our RuPaul's Drag Race Vegas review, which is on tonight on VH1, is dedicated to Chi-Chi. It's just, again, not enough to be said or done, but it's a shock. And I posted, and again, I'm just sad to my bones. It's just when I think about it, it just is really sad. Great line.
Rest in power. That's beautifully said. James, number 3.
Number 3.
We're going to move on, I guess, here and go in a totally different direction because I want to talk about Jerry Falwell Jr. and the pool boy. I don't see a way out of this. We've got to acknowledge what's going on in the world. This week, the news has been batshit insane. And one of the craziest stories is Jerry Falwell Jr., the evangelical head of Liberty University, who is a great
former head.
Former, yes, who is a supporter of Trump and is
and a hypocrite.
His father started the moral majority, and he has sort of picked up that baton, and he is a moral arbiter, and he is anti-gay, he is anti-abortion, he is anti-women having the right to vote. I mean, he's one of those really horrible people.
It's so gross.
Now, a year ago, we first heard murmurs about this pool boy, and we heard stories that he and his wife that had been taking the pool boy on their private jet and flying him around. And then later we heard that Jerry Falwell Jr. had invested in this man's idea for a business, and come to find out it was a gay youth hostel, which has since come to life that is more of a bathhouse than a hostel. What is going on here? Well, this week, starting on Monday, we learned that the wife, Becky, was having an affair with the pool boy. And you got to thinking, okay.
He blamed her.
He threw his wife under the bus, and you knew there was another shoe that was
under the bus.
Wow.
You knew there was another shoe that was going to drop. And by God, Tuesday and Wednesday, it all came tumbling out where the pool boy, improbably but beautifully named Giancarlo Granda, which is a poor name if I've ever heard one. And he had been sleeping with the wife, and it turned out that Jerry liked to watch. And Jerry would sit in the corner and tug at his ding dong.
One does.
As one does. And far be it from us to judge what 2 consenting adults want to do with their pool boy.
Or 4 or 5, the more the merrier.
That is so not the point. The point is the hypocrisy of this man who has made a career and made billions of dollars out of denigrating gays and being the morality police.
The other layer that's just
the government into the bedroom. That was his whole thing. And now he's like, stay out of my bedroom. It's my business. Sorry, dude, you don't get to have that.
Yes.
You brought the government in and Jesus and Christianity in a way that it wasn't tied to the government and everything else. Ugh, God.
The other layer, which I don't think is a conspiracy, I think it's true, is this affair with the pool boy has been going on for like 9 years.
Yes. When he threw her under the bus, he said it happened once or twice, and that was it. And then we thought that but it come to find out that there are.
Well, follow me. And now it's coming out. Michael Cohen, whose book's about to come out, who is in the process of coming out, which I pre-ordered on Amazon. That Michael Cohen, Trump's right hand, who had and Trump and he had a relationship with an Esquire, killed incriminating photos. And everyone was shocked when Jerry Falwell Jr. came out as an evangelical to endorse and speak at the Republican National Convention 4 years ago. It's all tied into blackmail.
Oh,
so
right.
And the National Enquirer and pictures and blackmail, which explains probably every Republican who supports him devotion. Lindsey Graham, McConnell.
Everybody, they have something on everybody. So the reason why evangelicals follow Trump is because they blackmailed Falwell into supporting Trump. And so that's how it all began. And
part of it. And I think it's all dirty politics.
I can't wait to read Michael Cohen's book. You know what? I just had a funny Circus of Books anecdote. Do you remember when that book Fire and Fury came out? Like, there's always like one more, like, now even more crazy shit about the Trump. So my mom told me one day when Fire and Fury came out, the store was still open. And the clerks were like, do we have any video called Fire and Fury? And then my mom would be like, I'll get on the phone, like, we don't sell regular books here. And asking for it. And the clerks thought they were referring to a DVD.
Well, I will just say, it's not Adam and Steve, it's Adam and Eve and a pool boy.
Totally. It sounds hot, actually.
Number two.
This is for you, Rachel. Maybe you've already seen it. It's on Netflix. John was trying to contact aliens. Have you seen or heard of this?
No, I haven't. I you're way ahead of me, Fenton. I cannot even keep up. You've got all the cool shit already scored.
That's okay. But mercifully and untypically for Netflix, it's only 16 minutes long. Normally we talk about Netflix things and they're like 6 hours from Netflix.
Right. Oh, it's a 16-minute documentary short? No.
Well, it won the jury prize at Sundance, and it's all about John Shepard, who was adopted and raised by his grandparents in northern Michigan, and he had a passion for contacting aliens. He started off in his bedroom with an oscilloscope, and then took over the entire house, filled it with sort of telemetry gear from like the Outer Limits, that sort of 50s, 60s giant gadgetry. And it is such a warm, lovely story.
Did he ever get to them? Do they answer?
No, but he's like, what he would do is he'd set up all this equipment. He built a giant radio tower. I mean, he's a little like Nikola Tesla. He built a giant radio tower outside the house, and he would DJ to the aliens. And he would say, if you ETs are out there, tune in again tomorrow night at 9 p.m. for more cultural music. And he'd play and he'd beam this stuff out. And there's a parable in there. There's a little bit of a twist, a little bit of a pool boy twist, if you will. Nothing hypocritical, very touching, because he was very much a loner in his own space, trying to make contact. And it ends up being a beautiful love story. I'm not going to give it away because it's only 16 minutes, but
it's the opposite of the Jerry Falwell pool boy situation. It just sounds pure and innocent and wonderful.
And it has a happy ending. And
he does. They come and get him and take him away.
Well, you have to watch it. See,
16 minutes and it's in English.
Okay.
It's in English. Yes. Shocking.
I'm in.
No subtitles, and it's directed by. Just want to say this. Matthew Killip, who was a British film editor, who just stumbled upon the story one night and Googled away and then went out to meet him, and he's still alive and tell this story. So
sounds great.
And we said earlier we were going to plug our friends' films at Outfest. Andrea James' film is
Becoming a Man in 127 Easy Steps.
What I remember about that, what Andrea told me, was that it's sort of like a choose your own adventure, and he's done 127 video clips of different characters, and the audience chooses the different character they want that night.
Exactly. And actually the director and conceiver of that project is a good friend of mine, Scott Turner, and he happens to be the first Emmy-nominated daytime TV actor who happens to be trans. He's a trans man, and he's fantastic. Yeah, and so it's Becoming a Man in 127 Easy Steps was kind of his idea of like a spoof on like, see how easy it is to change genders.
Right. And the other film is by Michael Sullivan, who's a great writer and now documentary filmmaker, and has a lot to do with RuPaul's Drag Race. And his film is based on those letters. What's it called? About he found a trope.
P.S. Burn this letter.
Oh, about the drag queens.
The drag queens sent each other in the 50s and 60s.
So
and
cool.
that comes to
found
life.
it in a storage unit, and then he went and tracked down the actual drag queens from the 50s and 60s who were writing these letters to each other. That's a feel-good story.
Getting rave reviews.
Yeah.
So
It
great.
is amazing. I will just say it's so great to be living in this media age because these stories that can be told now, you know, it's like it's a time of great richness, you know.
A documentary renaissance right now, I think.
Yeah.
Things that could not have been made 20 years ago because you would have needed funding from a network or something like that, and it never would have gotten made.
Inside your iPhone. And it's called, but burn this P.S. Burn this letter, please.
Yes.
All right, we're going to take a quick break and then we'll be right back and reveal the number one thing this week that made us go, wow.
Wow.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
All right, welcome back. I'm Fenton here with James St. James, Tom, and Rachel Mason. Soon to be, I predict, soon to be Emmy winner of your amazing documentary.
Okay.
Circus of Books. It's in your Emmy voting right now. Circus of Books. That's writing.
Make it happen. Hey, what's number one then?
Number one.
How could it not be the Republican National Convention this week? I don't know.
The greatest show on earth.
Oh my
The
God.
wildest show on earth, for as feel good and as personal and as intimate as the DNC was. This is just
Grand Guignol.
Grand Guignol. It is.
Grand de siècle.
It is. It started off. You knew things were going off the rails when Kimberly Guilfoyle took the stage, and it was like Evita Perón.
Fine.
It was like the Wicked Witch of the West. It was like Evita Perón. It was like every dictator you have ever seen ever giving a speech that got progressively louder and louder and louder until she was shrieking. She was screaming, and it was terrifying. It was like the memes that came out of that were absolutely hysterical.
The best is yet to come.
Everyone started doing the Kimberly challenge.
Yeah. I came home from work that night and hashtag cocaine was trending.
Well, that's because.
And then I turned and watched that clip and the other. Keep going.
Okay, because then Donald Jr. came out immediately afterwards, and that was the one where his eyes were glassy. He was sweating. He was doing this a little bit. He was on the verge of tears.
Oh, yes. Oh.
And immediately, anybody who has ever done a bump of coke in their entire life has went onto Twitter and said, "By God, I know that look. I know what is going on here." And it, like you said, it was trending. Cocaine convention and cocaine were the number one topics for 24 hours on Twitter. And it got so bad that on yesterday morning, he had to go on Fox and Friends and say that no, it was the Red Bull. He wasn't on cocaine. And then he said, people are confusing me with Hunter Biden, who famously had a drug problem years ago. So that
and he blamed the lighting at some point too. Just look at the pictures. The pictures do not lie. That is Ritalin or cocaine or meth or all the above.
Or Adderall, which is what everyone says that his father is on, you know. And then one of the other takeaways that I want to briefly touch on is Melania, who everyone was thinking that she was going to be the good guy, that she was going to come out and unite the party and be very, you know, how she always is and be best. Everybody be best. And she came out in a paramilitary trench dress that if you put a cigar in her mouth, she could have been Fidel Castro. Okay.
Or she could have been Patty Hearst.
She could, yes, the Symbionese Liberation Party. She looked like a Banana Republic dictator. And she started off on her speech, and it was a rambling speech that she said that she wrote so that nobody would say she plagiarized it, Because remember, she plagiarized Michelle Obama. And you could tell that she wrote it because it made no sense. And it went on for 3 hours. And she, at one point, she started to talk about how, she was there for the children and she wanted, to stop everything. But her husband is so good because he never lies, and you always know where you are with Donald Trump. And he's, he is there for the country, and he will unite it. And the lies started coming out of her in the way that they came out of every single damn person in that event, where they started talking about how Joe Biden was going to destroy the country and lead it into rioting and looting. Which, if you look around, that is Trump country. That's what Trump is.
Yeah.
The whole convention has been nothing but lies that are going unchecked, as the Republican lies always do, and it's maddening.
This is the smallest issue of the week, and yet it's emblematic of so much more. Let's not forget that this is the week that Melania Trump gave the Rose Garden a Brazilian wax.
And this is the week that Donald Trump was forced to pay Stormy Daniels $40,000 for her legal fees. And they're talking about what a wonderful man he is. It's too much. I give up, and I don't know where to go with it.
Don't give up, James. I have something for you. This is our Person, Woman, Man November Vote t-shirt for sale now in WOW's online store. 100% of the proceeds will go to the National Coalition on Black Civil Participation. That's the NCBCP. So you can shop now at store.worldofwonder.net.
There, I'll point to it.
It's a beautiful thing, actually. It's good.
Yeah. I'm going to go get one right now.
Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It was a blast. Anytime.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, James. And same time, same place next week. Until then, if you must go out, wear a mask, but do something that makes the world go
wow.
Wow.